Hello, welcome to Storytime Read Along with me. Peppa Pig. Peppa meets the Queen. And the story of Prince George. Peppa meets the Queen. Hip hip hooray! The Queen is going to award Miss Rabbit a medal for all her hard work. What will happen when Peppa and her friends go to the palace to meet Her Majesty? Peppa meets the Queen. Peppa and her family are watching television. Suddenly, there is a special announcement from the Queen. The Queen! The Queen! Peppa cheers. Hello to you all, the Queen says. Today I have decided to give an award to the hardest working person in the country. The hardest working person in the country is Miss Rabbit. At the supermarket, Miss Rabbit is closing the shop when Mr. Zebra, the postman, presents her with a golden letter. Miss Rabbit, please come to my palace to get a medal for all your hard work. Bring friends. All the best, the Queen. I can't visit the Queen. I've got too much work to do. Miss Rabbit panics. Don't worry, Peppa says. The Queen has made it a holiday. It is the day Miss Rabbit visits the Queen. Peppa and her friends are going too. We're off to see the Queen. We're off to see the Queen. E-I-A-D-O, we're off to see the Queen. Here we are, Miss Rabbit squeaks. Look at all the fancy stuff. Woof, Danny Dog says. Don't touch anything, Miss Rabbit warns. Where is the Queen? Emily Elephant asks. Queen, Susie Sheep calls. Where are you? In another fancy room, there is a lady sitting on a throne knitting. Hello, Peppa says. Have you seen the Queen today? I am the Queen, the lady says. The children are very excited to meet you, Your Majesty, says Miss Rabbit. I'm excited to meet all of you, the Queen says, standing up. And now for Miss Rabbit's medal. This is the Queen's Award for Industry. Keep up the good work. The Queen puts a shiny gold medal over Miss Rabbit's head. Cheers for Miss Rabbit, the Queen says. Hip, hip, hooray, shout the children. Miss Rabbit and the children wear their boots to go out into the palace gardens with the Queen. Do you play in your garden all the time, Your Majesty? Danny Dog asks. I don't have time for playing, no, answers the Queen. She suddenly stops. Oh dear, a muddy puddle. Never mind. We can walk round it. You can't walk round a muddy puddle, Peppa says. You have to jump in it. Peppa shows the Queen how to jump up and down in the muddy puddle. I say, that does look fun, the Queen says. Here one goes then. Stop, shouts Peppa. Everyone gasps. If you jump in muddy puddles, Peppa says, you must wear your boots, Your Majesty. The Queen goes inside and comes back with her boots on. Everyone loves jumping up and down in muddy puddles, including the Queen. Peppa Pig, the story of Prince George. Peppa and George aren't feeling very sleepy, so Mummy Pig tells them a new bedtime story. Can Prince George the Brave save Princess Peppa and her friends from the big scary dragon? The story of Prince George. Daddy Pig is saying good night to Peppa and George. Just one more dance, chuckles Daddy Pig. It's nearly bedtime. It is bedtime, Daddy Pig, says Mummy Pig. They are almost asleep, says Daddy Pig. Why don't I put Peppa and George to bed, says Mummy Pig. Can we have a bedtime story first, says Peppa. OK, says Mummy Pig. But only if you promise to go straight to sleep afterwards. We promise, cries Peppa. Story, giggles George. Once upon a time, Mummy Pig begins, there was a fairy tale castle. The castle was home to a brave prince called George and a clever princess called Peppa. Prince George and Princess Peppa spent their days exploring the castle. They even had a cook who made them jellies, cookies and fairy cakes with cherries on top. Prince George and Princess Peppa always ate everything. When they were finished exploring and eating, Prince George and Princess Peppa summoned the royal wizard. Abracadabra! The wizard wore a cloak covered in stars. He put on big magic shows and his tricks never went wrong, ever. Everybody loved living in the fairy tale castle until one day a big, scary dragon arrived. Princess Peppa squealed. Her royal friends ran as fast as their legs could carry them. Only Prince George stayed to face the dragon. Princess Peppa peered out of the castle window. The dragon was very big and scary. She hoped it wouldn't eat Prince George. Brave Prince George climbed on his horse and rode right up to the dragon. Grrr, said the dragon. Grrr, grrr, said George. Grrr. Suddenly, Prince George giggled. The dragon wasn't scary. It was just lonely. Dinosaur! Cried George. Dinosaur! Princess Peppa came out of the castle and Prince George invited the dragon to a picnic. The royal cook made a feast. The royal wizard put on a special magic show. Soon everybody in the kingdom wanted to meet the dragon. Princess Peppa and Prince George held a big party and the dragon was the guest of honour. His spines popped lots of balloons, but nobody minded. Hee hee! Pop! 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 The dragon liked the prince and the princess so much he decided to be their royal pet. Prince George led a parade to celebrate. Everybody cheered. Hooray for the dragon! Hooray for Princess Peppa! Hooray for Prince George the Brave! Hooray! The end! Cries Peppa. Dinosaur! Snorts George. Daddy Pig comes in to check on them. Mummy Pig has spent so long telling the story that she's fallen asleep. Good night, Mummy Pig. Good night, Princess Peppa. Shh. Good night, Prince George. Shh.